I'd like to bring up the Baltimore catastrophe in their port. It reminds me very much of a similar catastrophe in our history when we lived in the former Quad Cities, and that was the building of the first railroad across the Mississippi, which was finished in 1856. Eventually, the first step towards a transcontinental railroad. Well, that bridge was built to cross over the far left part of the Arsenal Island and into Davenport from Rock Island. And it was built to help facilitate the trade across the river. Well, not too long after that bridge was built, and it was built primarily out of wood, a steamship coming up the river had an accident. Very likely pilot error. There were pilots there who specialized in helping ships get through the Rock Island Rapids. Evidently, in this case, this particular steamship did not take advantage of that, and not surprisingly, they crashed into the bridge, and the bridge set on fire, and it was, along with the boat, essentially destroyed. Well, that led to a lawsuit filed by lawyers for the steamship against the railroad for building what they regard as an unnatural obstacle to up and down trade on the Mississippi. Well, the railroad hired as its lawyer the best person they could find, and that happened to be Abraham Lincoln, to defend them. And Abraham Lincoln did a first-class job. He went to the site where this took place. He talked with the son of one of the main persons that helped build it so that he could become familiar with the currents and the issues. And it occurred, and to him, it seemed fairly obvious that this was pilot error, not just the placement of the bridge. And so his argument essentially rested on that. He also argued that we needed a railroad bridge. Just as trade up and down the Mississippi was important, so was trade across the Mississippi, was his essential argument. That case wound up eventually with the United States Supreme Court, and the United States Supreme Court significantly later agreed with Lincoln and the railroad. The railroad was rebuilt, arguably better, learning from the mistakes of the previous one. And so, but in the meantime, that trade was stopped. Jobs that had been there to help maintain it were lost, very much like Baltimore. This crash of that ship into the facilities in the Baltimore trade. Baltimore is a very major port, and so many jobs were lost while this has taken place. So it's a very major issue in Baltimore and the surrounding area, and it raises echoes of what happened in Rock Island and Davenport in 1856. And the parallels are pretty striking. Arguments, issues, fairly similar. It's not like history repeats itself, but often there are great similarities that need to be addressed. And I wanted to acquaint you with this issue about the bridge across the Mississippi. There's a couple of books about this that are well worth looking at if you're interested. If you go to your library and ask about it, I'm sure they can help you find what you need to learn about it. So I hope this modern catastrophe has roots going back to pre-Civil War. So thank you for listening, and I hope this too is of interest to you. Thank you.